Part 15. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wu Nian. Chapter 141. Red Lotus Unicorn. Chen Hao listened to the noisy discussions next to him. He looked at the black horse in front of him. He stretched his eyebrows and smiled. The appearance looks okay, but I don't know what the talent is. Change. The Red Lotus Unicorn turned into a card and floated in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao stretched out his hand, held the card, and looked at the front of the card. Beast King Stage Red Lotus Unicorn. Hunger level, 100%. Thirst level, 100%. Taming degree, 100%. Seeing this tameness, Chen Hao raised his eyebrows. After evolution, has the tameness also increased? Thinking about it, Chen Hao subconsciously looked at Satya beside him. Satya smiled and said, I improved its tameness. It is indeed a credit to it. Chen Hao smiled, looked away, and looked at the card in his hand. Change. The picture on the card was converted into a picture of talents and qualifications. A six-pointed star appeared in front of Chen Hao. Physical damage, B. Magic damage, B. Speed, A. Casting range, C. Defense ability, B. Growth, S. Seeing this, Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. Compared to the mature stage, which is basically a wildebeest, this guy's talent and qualifications have improved a lot. In terms of ability, speed is A. So, speed is this guy's most outstanding ability. However, the physical damage and magic damage are only B. In other words, this guy is not good at fighting. It's true that the previous growth rate was E. After evolution, the growth rate changed, from E to S. Chen Hao thought for a moment. It shouldn't be. According to the clerk named Lugard, after a warcraft or monster evolves, its growth should change randomly. After a monster evolves, it may change from high growth to low growth. But, whether it is the skeleton warrior or the wildebeest that evolved into the Red Lotus Unicorn in front of me, they all have S-level growth potential. This isn't quite right. Moreover, Chen Hao remembered that when he was evolving the Arctic Elf and Xiaoying before, when they were about to evolve from the semi-holy stage to the holy stage, they almost exploded due to insufficient talent and qualifications. In other words, Shuiyi and Xiaoying's talents and qualifications are not high. But why do the skeleton warriors and the Red Lotus Unicorn have such high growth rates? Is there anything in common between the two of them? Suddenly, an idea flashed in Chen Hao's mind. He looked at Satya subconsciously. Chen Hao found what they have in common. What both the skeleton warrior and the Red Lotus Unicorn have in common is that they all evolved through the magic given by Satya. When Satya helps dark attribute monsters or dark attribute monsters evolve, it can fix the growth of the evolved monsters and monsters. When Satya saw Chen Hao looking at her, she blinked with confusion in her eyes. Chen Hao's eyebrows stretched slightly. Satya, do you know about the talents of monsters? When Satya heard it, it said, I have heard of some, but I don't really care. For gods, monsters and their talents are meaningless. Satya looked at Chen Hao and said with a smile, I can create monsters or monsters according to my needs and my ideas. If I want what they look like is what they have to look like. Chen Hao was startled. Then he looked away and nodded slightly, my situation is too small. I almost forgot, Satya is a god. The dark goddess once created the entire demon race. For her, not to mention the talents and qualifications of the demon beasts, she can directly create new species. The master's situation is not small, Satya suddenly said. Chen Hao was startled and looked at Satya. There was a smile on Satya's girlish face. The master has forgotten many things, but Satya has not forgotten. The reason why Satya exists is because of the master, and the reason why this world exists is also because of the master. In Satya's eyes, the master is the most dignified, powerful, and greatest being. No other being can compare with the master. Chen Hao blinked and smiled, okay. The memories that the book instilled in Satya were truly terrifying. Chen Hao looked around and found that more and more passers-by were watching. There were a few passers-by who stood relatively close, and they probably heard the conversation between Chen Hao and Satya, and the expressions of the two passers-by became a little strange. Others who were farther away did not hear Chen Hao's whispers, but they saw a beast evolve to the Beast King stage with their own eyes and realized that Chen Hao might be the Beast Master of the Beast King. They looked at Chen Hao a little more. Very surprised and respected. Chen Hao withdrew his gaze and looked at Satya. There are more and more people watching, let's go. When Satya heard this, she looked at the crowd of onlookers around her, and then looked at Chen Hao. Master doesn't like them, how about I help him deal with them? Chen Hao looked at Satya, who looked like an 11 or 12-year-old girl, and said these penetrating words in an understatement. He smiled, stretched out his hand, touched its little head, and said with a smile, good boy, I love peace. Don't treat human life as a trivial matter. You must learn to respect it, you know. Satya was startled for a moment, his eyes glowing, yes. Chen Hao left with Satya. The onlookers behind them all looked at the backs of Chen Hao and Satya. Beast Master, such a young Beast Master. So young, this is too young. Even according to records, the most legendary Master Beast Tamer, Tu Sen, must have been in his 40s when he tamed the Beast King stage monsters. This man is even more genius than Tu Senator. After Chen Hao left, passers-by began to gather around and talk. Chen Hao didn't really care about the comments of passers-by. For Chen Hao, it was just a chance encounter and there was no need to pay too much attention. From his contact with Lujit, Chen Hao discovered something. I seem to be a little out of tune with this world. Although he has come to this world and become a person of this world, Chen Hao found that he has no regard for this world. Don't understand. Just like, he doesn't know what a gold coin means in this world. I don't know, even the hundreds of great swordsmen mentioned by Lugert may not be able to defeat the great swordsmen among the skeleton warriors. What kind of strength is it and what does it mean in this world? Chen Hao looked up at the blue sky above and saw a few white clouds floating in the sky. In my previous life, I developed the habit of not having contact with people. However, due to various work reasons, although I was a homebody, I was still connected to the world in that life. But in this world, I seem to it's really out of touch with this world. Chen Hao withdrew his gaze and looked at the world. There are still many things in this world worth exploring. There must be many interesting things to explore about beast control. Thinking of this, Chen Hao smiled, it's such an interesting world. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 142. Hey, what are you still dawdling about for? The competition is about to start, you have to hurry over. If you go any slower, the door will close and you won't be able to see the game. Suddenly, a voice attracted Chen Hao's attention. Chen Hao looked at the person who was talking. It was a young man, who was walking back from the front with a depressed look on his face, to a companion who was buying fruit at a fruit stand. When the companion heard the man say that, he smiled and said, "Why are you in such a hurry? Isn't it still half an hour before it starts? I'll buy some fruit and eat it while watching the game. Isn't it more fun? I can't do anything about you. By the way, in the competition later, who do you want to win between the white civet cat and the winged wolf?" Needless to say, it must be the white civet cat. It has won 7 games and only lost 2. Hearing the discussion of the two men, a word instantly emerged in Chen Hao's mind. Beast Master Battle. Chen Hao's eyes lit up, and he came over, "You too." When the two men heard it, they looked at Chen Hao one by one. The two looked at Chen Hao, with doubts in their eyes. Chen Hao smiled and said, "I am a traveler from outside. It's my first time here, and I am unfamiliar with the place. I just heard you two say that there is a competition? What's going on? The young man heard it, he said with a smile, "Traveler? We just talked about the beast taming competition." As he said that, he stretched out his hand and pointed in a direction. "Look, over there, the largest building is the beast taming arena. That place is where beast tamers become famous. Some powerful beast tamers will take their beasts to participate in the competition over there in order to show their powerful beast taming. If you win, you can get a lot of fame and a lot of gold coins." He looked at Chen Hao and smiled and said, "You came to Juichuo City to play, it would be a pity if you didn't go to the beast taming arena." Hearing this, Chen Hao looked in the direction pointed by the young man. There was indeed a building over there. The building was very large and looked similar to the Roman Colosseum in the previous life. Chen Hao looked at the young man and said with a smile, "Thank you." The young man crossed his arms and smiled warmly, "You're welcome, Juichuo City people, welcome all visitors." Chen Hao smiled, he nodded slightly, then turned and walked towards the direction of the beast taming arena. He came to the gate of the beast taming arena. In front of Chen Hao's gate stood a tall and strong man wearing silver armor and a long sword on his waist. The strong man stretched out his hand to block Chen Hao's way. Chen Hao looked at the strong man. The strong man said, "Children are not allowed to enter the beast taming arena." Chen Hao was stunned. Is the competition so exciting? Children are not allowed to enter? Wait a minute, children. Chen Hao looked at Chataya beside him. When Chataya heard it, it frowned, "This goddess, I am not a child. I am much older than you. A small mortal dares to stop me, I will kill you." Chataya, Chen Hao said. Chataya was startled, then it came back to its senses and looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao frowned. Chataya's frown slowly relaxed, and it apologized, "Master, I'm sorry, I couldn't help it." Chen Hao looked at Chataya's apologetic gesture, his eyebrows relaxed, and he smiled. He reached out and touched Chataya's hair, and said with a smile, "It's okay, it's okay. In order to avoid trouble, I'll wrong you for a while." Chataya nodded slightly when he heard it. "Yeah. Change." Chataya's body disappeared. A card appeared in front of Chen Hao. The sturdy guard saw this scene, his pupils condensed slightly, and he looked at Chen Hao in astonishment. You are." Hearing this, Chen Hao looked at the guard and smiled, "Don't worry, it's my beast, it's not a human, it shouldn't be a child, right?" The guard was stunned, he stared at Chen Hao in a daze, and couldn't react for a while. People are protected by God, so they will not become cards. The life that can become a card can only be a beastman. But a beastman that looks like a human, I have never seen one. Chen Hao smiled and said, "Can I go in?" The guard came back to his senses, adjusted his inner shock, and slowly said, "Buy tickets over there." As he said that, the guard turned his head and looked to the side. Over there was a table, and a man in a black robe was sitting at the table, looking at Chen Hao. Chen Hao walked over. The man said, "How many people?" "One person," Chen Hao replied. The man took out a card and put it on the table, saying, "1 entry token, 10 silver coins." Silver coins. Book. The book appeared in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao looked at the dragon treasure card that he had placed on the card slot. I wonder if there are silver coins in the treasure collected by the big dragon. There should be, right? Thinking about it, Chen Hao said, "Transform." The dragon treasure card lit up slightly. A new card appeared in front of Chen Hao. Currency 10 silver coins. Seeing this card, Chen Hao smiled, sure enough. He picked up the silver coin card and handed it to the man. The man put away the silver coin card and handed the card on the table to Chen Hao. Chen Hao took it. Took a look. Props entry token. There is a picture below the card name. In the picture is a stone with a blue halo. Go in, a voice sounded. Chen Hao looked at the guard who was talking, and he nodded slightly. Chen Hao entered the gate. At a glance, it's like a coliseum, but it's not. This building has an open space in the middle, and the audience seats are around this open space. And now there are already many people sitting in the audience seats. In this world without mobile phones and online games, competitive games are probably the most interesting entertainment in this world. Chen Hao walked to the audience seats and found a seat to sit down. He looked at the battlefield in front of him. Beast taming competition. I haven't seen a beast master use beasts to fight. Chen Hao smiled. It's really interesting. Before, the two young men said that it would start in half an hour. It should be about time now. How would beast masters in this world fight? According to what Reg said before, it is extremely difficult for a beast master to cultivate a beast king stage monster. Even if he can really cultivate it, he will be at least 40 or 50 years old. However, although it is difficult to train a mature beast, most beast masters can still do it. Reg said that under normal circumstances, a beast war pet with good talent and qualifications will be sent to the beast master when the beast master is just born. The beast master and the beast grow up together. When the beast master is in his 20s or 30s, the beast will be almost trained to maturity. In other words, the beasts that can fight in this beast arena should all be mature. If they are all mature, how will those beast masters drive the beasts of the same mature stage to defeat other mature beasts? Interesting, really interesting. The more Chen Hao thought about it, the hotter he felt all over his body. He was looking forward to it. Chen Hao had a smile on his face. Hurry up and start, let me see your performance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 143. Coming suddenly, Chen Hao heard the voices of other spectators next to him. There was a lot of noise all around. Chen Hao looked at the venue. I saw a man who looked to be in his 30s walking out of a door. Opposite the man, there was also a door, and out of the opposite door was a young man in his early 20s. The two stood facing each other. At this time, in the middle, there is another door. It was a man wearing a black robe, and the man was walking between the two. He raised his head and looked around at the audience. The beast master on my left is. He stretched out his hand with his left hand. On his left was the middle-aged man in his 30s, his name is Axi Niun and his beast master Wind Wolf. Akers looked at the young man opposite him expressionlessly. He raised his hand with the card in his hand. He threw the card forward. Transform. The card disappeared, and a Wind Wolf appeared in front of Akers. Wind Wolf. Chen Hao was startled. The big wolves evolved from the Wind Wolves. Chen Hao was still very familiar with the mature Wind Wolves. But the Wind Wolf in front of him surprised Chen Hao. The Wind Wolf looks very similar to the mature Giant Wolf. But Chen Hao discovered that Feng Lang was wearing a silver-white armor. Chen Hao noticed that Feng Lang was wearing armor all over his body. The armor looked very thin and should be light armor. There are also metal claws on Wind Wolf's claws. Wind Wolf is almost entirely armed. When Chen Hao saw this, his eyes lit up, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. Awesome, it turns out that there is such a way to improve the strength of beast control. Wind Wolf's defense is very weak among mature warcraft. Its strengths are speed and wind magic. Defense is not its strong point. With this armor, Wind Wolf can also improve some defense capabilities. If this armor was magic armor, then it would be even more powerful. Arming the beast not only makes the beast stronger, but also makes it more handsome. It's interesting. Chen Hao smiled. With this armor alone, Chen Hao felt that this arena was worth his time. Oh. Yeah. Wind Wolf, come on. The moment the Wind Wolf appeared, the entire auditorium rang with sounds. Chen Hao smiled and looked at the other Beast Master. That Beast Master is relatively young. The man in black robe raised his right hand and said, "The Beast Master on my right is Atak Raybul, and his Beast Master is a white civet." As the words fell, Yitok raised his hand, and he had already prepared the beast control card in his hand. He waved his hand and the card flew out. Change. The card disappears. It's a cat, but this guy is much bigger than any cat Chen Hao has ever seen. This size is only slightly smaller than that of the Wind Wolf. Its hair is all white, and its body is covered in white armor, which looks like light armor. Obviously, these beast-controlling pets used for competition are all armed, and the weapons are used to enhance the strength of the beast controllers. White Civet Cat. White Civet Cat. The moment the White Civet Cat was called out, the entire venue rang with sounds. The audience seemed very excited. Chen Hao looked around and looked at the excited expressions of the audience. He smiled. The White Civet Cat seems to be much more popular than the Wind Wolf. Chen Hao looked at the White Civet Cat below. However, it is no wonder that the White Civet Cat does look more elegant. From an aesthetic point of view, the White Civet Cat is more beautiful. Appearance is justice, not to mention the fact that Bai Ling Mao has a good record, so it's no wonder that it is so popular. Now, I declare that the competition begins. The black-robed referee waved his hands. He stepped back, leaving the battlefield to the two Beast Masters. Because he was too far away from the venue, Chen Hao couldn't hear how the Beast Master commanded the beast. He could see that Wind Wolf moved first. The Wind Wolf started running and rushed towards the White Civet Cat. While running, a wind blade appeared next to Feng Lang, and the wind blade swept towards the White Civet Cat. The White Civet Cat moved its body and dodged lightly. The Wind Wolf suddenly pounced on where the White Civet Cat was, opened its mouth, and bit the White Civet Cat's throat. The White Civet Cat put its feet on the ground and jumped gracefully, once again avoiding the Wind Wolf's attack. The Wind Wolf's attack failed. The White Civet Cat moved its body, flew up, and landed on the Wind Wolf's back. The movement was very graceful. Feng Lang's pupils condensed slightly, and he started beating, trying to get rid of the White Civet behind him. The White Civet Cat raised its tail behind it, its tail lit up with light, and the tip of its tail seemed to turn into a blade. The tail jerked downward. Ouch, Feng Lang screamed. The tip of the White Civet Cat's tail pierced the armor at Wind Wolf's ribs and penetrated directly into Wind Wolf's body. "I surrender." Suddenly, a voice sounded. The Beast Master named Akers turned pale, and he had already raised his hand. The White Civet Cat moved its body, moved away from Feng Lang's back, and withdrew its tail. The Wind Wolf fell to the ground, blood flowing. Akers rushed over and picked up Wind Wolf. Yitok waved his hand, and the White Civet Cat turned into a card and returned to Yitok's hand. Yitok saluted to the audience. "White Civet Cat! White Civet Cat!" The audience immediately became excited. Seeing this, Chen Hao raised his eyebrows. The Wind Wolf chose to use magic to cover, approach the White Civet Cat, and fight in close combat. Indeed, the White Civet Cat's defense seems to be weaker than the Wind Wolf, and the Wind Wolf is much stronger than the White Civet Cat. However, the Wind Wolf is not as flexible as the White Civet Cat, and the White Civet Cat's magic is still a close combat burst type, and the Wind Wolf suffers in close combat. Chen Hao muttered, although both beasts are mature, the gap is really huge. Chen Hao stood up and walked down. Axe was squatting on the field, holding the Wind Wolf and checking the Wind Wolf's injuries. "Uncle." Axe heard the voice next to him and looked at the person who spoke. Chen Hao smiled and said, "How is its injury?" When X heard this, he looked puzzled and looked away. The White Spirit Cat held back. "It didn't hurt its vital parts. It should be able to recover after a few months of rest." The wind wolf opened its eyes, its chest heaving, its mouth slightly open, its tongue sticking out, panting, and its eyes looking at X apologetically. X stroked the wind wolf's fur and said softly, "It's okay, I know you've tried your best." Chen Hao looked at the wind wolf in X's arms, which looked almost exactly like the big wolf when it was a child. Chen Hao said, "Change." When X heard this, he looked at Chen Hao. There was a floating card in front of Chen Hao. Change. The card disappeared. When he saw it, X's pupils condensed slightly. What is this? The bright butterfly beast with tentacles and butterfly wings, surrounded by a white halo, appeared in front of X. Bright Butterflymon slowly opened her eyes and saw Chen Hao. Her eyes were shining, "Master." As Bright Butterflymon's voice sounded, X's face suddenly changed. He looked at Bright Butterflymon and then at Chen Hao in astonishment. Chen Hao looked at Bright Butterflymon and said with a smile, "Heal this wind wolf." Bright Butterflymon nodded slightly, looked at the wind wolf, and stretched out her hand. White light emanated from her little hand, covering the wind wolf's body. X came back to his senses. He looked at the wind wolf, and saw that the wound on the wind wolf's ribs healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the wound disappeared without a trace, and even no blood was left. The light dissipated. The wind wolf came out of X's arms. When X saw this, he was stunned. He came back to his senses, and he looked at Chen Hao, his eyes showing respect, gratitude, excitement, and a hint of disbelief. "Thank you, sir." When Chen Hao heard this, he smiled, "You're welcome, it's just a small favor." Chen Hao stood up and said, "Transform." The bright butterfly woman beast turned into a card. Chen Hao put the card away and turned away. Axe looked at Chen Hao's back, and he was a little stunned. "A talking monster, a beast king beast master, I didn't expect that a beast king beast master would be so young. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world." Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 144. Chen Hao left the beast taming arena. He played with the card of Bright Butterflymon in his hand. Book. The book appeared in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao opened the book and put the card of Bright Butterflymon into it. Passers-by came and went on the street. Chen Hao didn't care if they saw the book. In this world, there are all kinds of magical magic. A book that can be suspended in the air is just a wind magician who is too lazy to hold the book in his hands in the eyes of others. Chen Hao looked at the beast taming card in the book and his eyes fell on Chisha's card. Childhood dark girl. Chen Hao thought for a while, what does the talent qualification panel of God look like? Thinking of this, Chen Hao picked up the card. Change. The picture displayed by this card named Dark Girl began to switch to the talent qualification panel. When the talent qualification panel in front of him came into view, Chen Hao was stunned. Physical damage, S. Magic damage, S. Speed, S. Casting range, S. Defense ability, S. Growth, S. SIXS panel, I can only say that it is worthy of being a god. Chen Hao adjusted his mood and smiled. These talent qualification panels, I think they represent the talent qualifications based on its current growth period. Like the Red Lotus unicorn, its physical damage is B level, which means its physical damage is B level in the mature stage. As a juvenile Kshatriya, it is estimated that both physical and magical damage have surpassed the holy beast, so in the juvenile stage, its evaluation is S level. Chen Hao smiled and said, some juvenile monsters have an S-level talent qualification evaluation because their talent qualification evaluation is S-level, and Kshatriya is S-level because the highest talent qualification evaluation panel is only S-level. Even though they are both S-level, sometimes the gap is very huge. Chen Hao put Kshatriya back into the book card slot. Let this little guy have a good rest for the time being. Kshatriya is a bit withdrawn. It doesn't like to talk much with other life forms, so let it rest more. Life forms related to dark magic elements, whether they are magic beasts or monsters, seem to have such personalities. Similar to Xiaoying, Xiaoying doesn't like to talk either. When other magic beasts are chatting, if he is there, he will choose to stay by his side. If he is not there, he will choose to find a corner to rest. Like the skeleton warrior, it also gives people a gloomy feeling. The big wolves with wind attributes are very naughty and love to communicate with other magic beasts. The water attributed Shuyi and the big dragon and the second dragon are all very gentle and considerate. As a big pig with wood attributes, it is willing to give everything for the people it is loyal to. The fire phoenix with fire attributes is more irritable. The fire fox is also fire attributed. It is very elegant, but it does not mean that it is not irritable. When it should be irritable, it will still be irritable. Sure enough, the attributes of magic elements will affect the personality of life, Chen Hao muttered. However, this is also a very interesting thing. The more I get along with these little guys, the more I observe them, the more I find them amazing. Suddenly, Chen Hao paused slightly, and he looked to the right. There was a shop on the right. The shop sign reads Beast Tamer Armor Shop. Seeing this Beast Tamer Armor Shop, Chen Hao thought of the Beast Tamer battle he had just seen in the Beast Tamer arena, and thought about the armor worn by the Beast Tamers. The armor for the Beast Tamer should be bought in these Beast Tamer armor shops, right? Obviously, Chen Hao's Beast Tamer does not need any armor, but Chen Hao is still a little interested in Beast Tamer armor. Chen Hao put his hands in his trouser pockets and stepped into the door of the armor shop. Entering the site, Chen Hao was slightly startled. Chen Hao thought that the furnishings in this armor shop would be like those blacksmith shops in the previous life, with all kinds of forged things on display. But the scene in front of him was completely different from what Chen Hao imagined. The furnishings in this armor shop are almost exactly the same as those in the Beast Tamer shop. There are wooden shelves, and cards are placed on the shelves. The difference from the Beast Tamer shop is that the pictures on these cards are pictures of armor. Yes. This world is a world of cards. Everything can be carded. Cards don't take up space. In this case, why not use cards? Chen Hao smiled, that's right. Customer, what do you need? Suddenly, a voice came. Chen Hao heard the voice and looked at the source of the voice. I saw a little girl who looked 13 or 14 years old next to the wooden counter not far away, looking at me with a sweet smile on her face. Next to her was a little wind wolf. The little girl walked towards the side with a smile on her face. The little wind wolf followed the little girl and walked towards the side. It stuck out its tongue and its tail was shaking behind it. It looked like a puppy. But Chen Hao, who knew the wind wolf very well, knew that the little guy was a young wind wolf. Obviously, the little girl was the owner of the little wind wolf. Chen Hao looked at the little girl and said with a smile, I haven't decided what to buy yet, let me take a look first. The little girl nodded and said with a smile, customers can tell me what kind of beast you have. We have protective gear made for those beasts in our store. Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled and said, let me take a look first. Oh. Seeing Chen Hao's stubborn attitude, the little girl said oh and then stood aside, looking at Chen Hao. The little wind wolf next to the little girl saw that his master didn't move, so he sat down and looked at his little master with his tail wagging. Chen Hao looked at the armor cards on the shelf. Armor General Armor for Mature Wolves. The picture shows a set of armor, and the shape of the armor is obviously specially made for mature wolf beasts. Type, Armor card. Effect, General armor that can be worn by wolf beasts. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows and continued to look at other armor. Armor for mature flame wolves. The pattern shown in the picture is black and red armor. Type, Armor card. Effect, armor made for flame wolves. The armor contains flame ore, which makes it more comfortable for flame wolves to wear and can slightly increase the fire magic damage of flame wolves. Chen Hao crossed one hand over his chest and touched his chin with the other hand. He frowned slightly. Another wolf armor. He looked at the other armor cards on the shelf. Armor mature wind wolf armor. Armor mature rock wolf armor. Armor mature ice wolf armor. Well, customer, the shelves here are all wolf armor, the little girl's voice came. Chen Hao was slightly startled, and he looked at the little girl. The little girl had a sweet smile on her face and said with a smile, over there are cat-type beast armor, over there are cattle-type beast armor, and over there are rat-type beast armor. At this point, the little girl paused, she looked at Chen Hao, and said with a smile, other types of beast armor need to be customized. Can you tell me the size and attributes of your beast and your requirements? Well, Chen Hao was puzzled, are there only wolf, cat, cattle, and rat beast armor here? Nothing else. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 145. Suddenly, a voice came. Chen Hao looked at the little wind wolf, and saw that the little wind wolf was looking at the little girl, and its tail was wagging particularly happily. The little girl smiled, squatted down, and held the little wind wolf in her arms. She stroked the little wind wolf, looked at Chen Hao, and said, well, yes, the others can be customized. At this point, Chen Hao noticed that the little girl's eyes were looking behind him. Her eyes lit up slightly, and she smiled and said, Dad, there are guests coming. Hearing this, Chen Hao subconsciously turned around and looked behind him. There was a man standing at the door. The man smiled and said, I know, leave it to me next, you can take Xiao Huiwei to play. Okay, the little girl responded happily, Xiao Huiwei hasn't eaten yet, then Dad, I'll go feed it first. As she said that, she carried the little wind wolf into the house. Chen Hao looked at the little girl's back, then looked at the man and said with a smile, what a coincidence. Chen Hao didn't expect it to be such a coincidence. This man was X. He was the beast master who used the wind wolf to fight in the beast arena before, and the beast master who was helped by Chen Hao. X's eyes were filled with joy. He said, I thought I would not be able to see you again, but I didn't expect to meet you as soon as I got home. You saved my wind wolf, and now is the right time. If you need anything, just tell me. Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled, I help you, not for any reward, but just a little help. But, indeed, I have some doubts, maybe you can answer them for me. When X heard this, he smiled and said, just ask, sir. This guy really calls you sir. Chen Hao was too lazy to correct his address. Chen Hao said, why do you only have wolf, cat, cow and mouse protective gear in your store? Are there no other protective gear? Axe hurriedly said, as long as you need it, I can customize it for you. Before Axe finished speaking, Chen Hao waved his hand, no, that's not what I meant. I mean, why is it like this? Axe's eyes had a hint of doubt and looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao noticed Axe's doubt and smiled, I am a traveler from outside. I have never seen a beast protection shop before, so I am a little curious. Axe suddenly understood when he heard it. He said, sir, sit over there and let's sit and talk. Chen Hao nodded slightly. In the store, in addition to the shelves, there is also a place for customers to rest. Axe and Chen Hao sat down on wooden chairs. X explained, wolves, such as wind wolves, flame wolves, rock wolves, etc. cats, such as wind spirit cats, water spirit cats, or white spirit cats transformed from wind spirit cats. Cattle and mice are the most popular beasts. In the entire VAF continent, many beast masters use beasts like this. Opening a beast protection store is mainly to make a living, so the main business of the beast protection store is these beast protection, so that it can sell better. X looked at Chen Hao, who was stunned. He looked at Chen Hao, of course, there are also some beast masters with status. Beast masters like you use special beasts. I can customize some protection for you, sir. Hearing this, Chen Hao touched his nose. I remember that your beast is a light attribute beast that looks like an elf, very sacred. For that kind of beast, I think the protection should be better against attacks such as Magic X gave advice. Chen Hao was slightly startled, and he said, "Let me think about it first." X looked at Chen Hao, with a smile on his face, and did not speak. After hearing this, Chen Hao understood what was going on. There are many beast masters in this world, but not everyone has the opportunity to obtain a powerful monster cub as their own beast. So, if you want to become a beast master in this world, you will choose a battle pet beast that is easier to obtain and has a certain combat power. Wolves, cats, cattle, and mice are easy to tame, so these have become the most friendly and most common battle pet beasts. This is also the reason why there are so many of these beasts in this beast protection shop in front of you. Other types of beasts are rare beasts that only people with status and position can own. Just like in Chen Hao's previous life, ordinary people who want to keep pets can only keep cats and dogs. And some rich people can keep some wild animals. I became special because of the plug-in given by God, and I can keep whatever I want. For most people in this world, the common beasts are their beasts. So that's how it is. Chen Hao nodded slightly. Chen Hao looked at X. How much does a wind wolf cub usually sell for? X was slightly startled, and he smiled and said, "It depends on the talent and qualifications. If it is an average, it is about 300 or 400 gold coins." "Well, then, have you seen a water spirit cub?" Chen Hao looked at X. Water spirit cubs are very common monsters in Wolong Island. They belong to the type that Chen Hao doesn't want to catch. If Chen Hao hadn't caught 7 to cultivate in order to control the number, he could have caught more water spirit cubs. Chen Hao wanted to compare the price difference between the common monsters and the water spirit cubs. In this way, he could judge the difference between the common monsters and the special monsters. When Akers heard Chen Hao say the water spirit cub, Akers was slightly startled. He smiled and said, "The water spirit cub, that is a monster, a higher level existence than a monster. And the water spirit cub is very rare. I heard that there are some on Wolong Island, but Wolong Island is a forbidden area for humans. Except for a few strong people who dare to go there, everyone else will die. So, water spirit cubs are very rare in the human world. It's not a problem that a water spirit cub can be sold for 200,000 gold coins in the beast controlling market. It's just that the price is high but there is no market." Akers said with a smile, 200,000 gold coins, this number is so huge that ordinary people can't even think about it. Akers was the owner of such a large beast control armor shop, and he didn't even dare to think about ordinary people. Chen Hao caught the water spirit cub he didn't want to catch, but in the eyes of ordinary people, it was like those precious pets in the previous life, which ordinary people could only look up to but could not obtain. This is the situation of most people in this world. A water spirit cub is like this, but what if it's a giant dragon cub? If a baby dragon appeared in the human world, would it be crazy? Chen Hao touched his chin. However, Chen Hao is not short of money, and he is not interested in selling monsters and monsters. Book. A book appeared in front of Chen Hao. Change. The dragon treasure card placed in the card slot by Chen Hao lit up slightly. Chen Hao has an extra card in his hand. Chen Hao put the card on the table, pushed it to Akers, and said with a smile, "It's almost time. It's time for me to leave. This is my reward for solving my doubts." Akers was stunned and looked at the card handed over by Chen Hao. It was a gold coin card, and it showed on the card 1,000 gold coins. Seeing this, Akers' smile faded and he hurriedly said, "Sir, it's too much. This won't work." He picked up the gold coin card and handed it back to Chen Hao. Chen Hao smiled, keep it. So rich. The dragon's treasure that De Long gave to Chen Hao is estimated to be worth tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions. This. Acre's face was full of fear. He looked at the gold coins in his hand. He gritted his teeth and looked at Chen Hao. Sir, please wait for me. With that said, Acres walked into the store in a panic. Looking at Axe's figure, Chen Hao had a hint of doubt in his eyes. What is he doing? After a while, Acres came out of the back room. He walked up to Chen Hao and said solemnly, Your Excellency cured my wind wolf. I couldn't repay you, but now you have given me so many gold coins, I really have nothing good to offer. To repay you, sir. A while ago, my family raised a female flame wolf and a wind wolf and gave birth to a wind and fire wolf pup with dual attributes of fire and wind. Acres solemnly held a card in both hands, bent slightly, and handed the card to Chen Hao. Although it's not worth much, please accept it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 146. A dual attribute wolf monster, a wind and fire wolf? Similar to the previous big pig with dual attributes of wood and earth? Chen Hao stretched out his hand, took it, and looked at the card in front of him. Pup stage little wind fire wolf. Through the picture on the card, you can see a little red wolf covered in flame-like red hair. I own a lot of monsters, but until now, only Big Pig has owned dual attribute monsters. Among the monsters I own, there seems to be no dual attribute monsters or monsters. Rare. Yes, dual attribute monsters or monsters are relatively rare existences. Chen Hao looked at Acres. Dual attribute monsters are relatively rare. If humans want to tame beasts, they need to be tamed from an early age. I see you also have a daughter. Why don't you give your daughter such a rare monster? To tame it? When Acres heard this, he explained, I think so too. It's just that when a beast master tames a beast, he has to start taming it from birth. And for a beast master to train a beast, it takes a lifetime to train it. After all, the lifespan is limited. The flame wolf raised by my wife was born recently, and my daughter already has a beast, and we have feelings for each other. Hearing this, Chen Hao also understood. In other words, even if he wanted to train this little wind and fire wolf now, there is no suitable beast master. Therefore, the only way to get this thing is to sell it. He estimated that during this period of time, he wanted to sell this little wind fire wolf, but he happened to come. Thinking of this, Chen Hao nodded slightly, then I will accept it. Acres nodded. After accepting Xiaofeng Wulang, Chen Hao left the beast controlling armor store. Chen Hao took out the teleportation card from the book. Target, Wolong Island. Change. The card turned into black mist and enveloped Chen Hao's body. The black mist instantly turned into a black light and disappeared into the sky. Chen Hao, who was in the black mist, felt his eyes go dark and then light up. The surrounding environment has changed. Chen Hao returned to the wooden house on Wolong Island. Master, suddenly, a voice full of surprise came. Chen Hao came back to his senses and saw Shui Yi, the 0-degree elf, trotting towards this side. It had a smile on its face, full of joy. Master, give me a hug. It stretched out its small hand towards Chen Hao. Seeing Shui Yi's actions, Chen Hao smiled, reached out and touched Shui Yi's little head, and said with a smile, Did you protect the wooden house well when I was away? When Shui heard this, his eyes lit up, and he said happily, Yes, Master, look, this wooden house is in good condition, not damaged at all. Chen Hao looked at the wooden house behind him and saw that it was indeed not damaged, and of course it would not be damaged. Master, How did I do? Shui Yi continued, hurry up and praise Shui Yi. Chen Hao smiled, okay, Shui Yi is great. It seems that the three wolves' habit of letting Chen Hao praise has infected these little guys. Master, and me another zero elf came over, I also help protect you. And me. The other 6 0-degree elves also came over and asked for compliments. Chen Hao smiled, okay, you are all great, you are all very good. Hey, the master praised me. The faces of the 0 elves were full of joy after receiving the praise. Me too, the master also praised me. These 0-degree elves held hands and showed off to each other the things that were praised by their masters. There are smiles on their little faces. What these simple little guys want is really simple. These little guys work really hard to get praise from their master. A voice came from the side. Chen Hao came back to his senses and looked to his side. I saw that the green deer had come over and was standing next to me. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows, why do you say that? King Lu looked at the 0-degree elves. 0-degree elves like water. There is a small river in this giant tree forest. Whenever there is a chance, these 0-degree elves will go to play in that river. Today, since the owner said, let them have a good time, since the protection of the wooden house began, they have been staying around the wooden house and stopped playing in the river. Even when they were playing around the wooden house, they would always look towards the wooden house for fear that something would damage it. It's very hard. Listening to King Lu's narration, Chen Hao slightly stretched his eyebrows and looked at the 0-degree elves. Sisters, the master is back and our mission has been completed. Let's go catch fish in the river. Well, I also want to go to the river. I'm going too. The 7 little guys talked to each other, and then the 7 little guys jumped away together. Look at their backs. Chen Hao's eyebrows stretched slightly. Each of these 0-degree elves has the power to destroy a country, but they are young, so they use relatively simple methods to deal with things. They use their own methods to complete the tasks assigned by the mission. Although this is a very easy task, they are still very serious. However, King Lu is willing to work harder if he can get praise from his masters. Suddenly, King Lu's voice came from beside him. Chen Hao was startled. He looked at King Lu and saw that King Lu was looking at him with expectation on his face. Master, is there anything I need King Lu to do? Upon hearing this, Chen Hao smiled helplessly, stretched out his hand and touched the King Lu's head. Feeling Chen Hao's actions, King Lu closed his eyes and enjoyed Chen Hao's touch. There is nothing for you to do for now, you just have to do what you want to do. Chen Hao patted King Lu's big head and said with a smile, I will call you when I need it. The green deer was startled, then it hummed and nodded slightly. Suddenly, Chen Hao felt the shadow cast from above. Feeling the shadow, Chen Hao raised his face and looked upward. The dragon is swimming on the clouds under the blue sky. This thing has not evolved today, and I don't know if it will evolve tomorrow. If the 10,000-year-old dragon in the awakening stage continues to evolve, what will it evolve into? Chen Hao is still interested in knowing the next changes of the 10,000 years dragon. Also, Satya is now a dark girl. Satya's true identity is the goddess of darkness. In other words, if Satya continues to evolve, she may become a true goddess of darkness. Now it is the dark girl. Tomorrow, will it be able to become the real dark goddess and gain peak strength? Chen Hao is not sure. But what he was certain of was that after just one day, Satya's body shape changed a lot. Directly changing from a Lolita posture to a girlish posture. If so, let Satya continue to evolve. When it evolves from the juvenile stage to the mature stage, will its strength be able to defeat the creatures in the half-emperor stage? If you can. Chen Hao crossed his chest with his hands, his eyes shining slightly. If it is possible, it means that those monsters that have reached the holy period can continue to evolve. The holy stage, upwards, the half-emperor stage, the imperial stage, if the big wolf, fire phoenix, and water continue to evolve, What new appearance will they have? Chen Hao was looking forward to it. If you want to continue beyond the holy period, you have to obtain the Emperor Core. If you want to obtain the Emperor Core, you can only rely on Satya's next evolution. Tomorrow, we'll know tomorrow. Thinking of this, Chen Hao smiled. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 147. Time flies. It was early morning the next day. A ray of sunlight fell through the window into the bedroom. Chen Hao, who felt the light, slowly opened his eyes. Chen Hao looked at the familiar ceiling above, and turned his face to look at the window. There is bright light outside the window. Chen Hao withdrew his gaze and stood up. After washing up, Chen Hao went out. Master, a voice came. Chen Hao looked at the source of the sound and saw the big pig standing not far away. It put its hands on its chest, bent slightly, lowered its head, and looked respectful. Chen Hao smiled, the weather is good today. Big Pig raised his face with a smile on his face, the master is in a good mood, and Big Pig is happy. Chen Hao was startled, then he smiled and said nothing. Book. The book appeared in front of Chen Hao. The book is suspended. Chen Hao reached out his hand and opened the book. Chen Hao flipped through the book. His eyes fell on the card slot previously used to store Dark Girl Satya cards. Upon entering his eyes, Chen Hao's pupils were slightly startled. Maturity, Daughter of Darkness. Taming degree, 100%. Didn't she directly become the Dark Goddess? Chen Hao touched his nose. Yes, becoming a god is not that simple. Chen Hao continued to look down. Description: the Daughter of Darkness, a dark attribute monster, evolved from the Dark Girl. It is composed of the godhead and memory of the Dark Goddess and condensed a large amount of dark magic elements. It has power beyond the half-emperor stage. Seeing this, Chen Hao's pupils condensed slightly. Is it done? It can defeat the half-emperor stage, which means that it can obtain the Emperor Core. In this way, the Saint stage can evolve to the half-emperor stage. Chen Hao smiled and waved his hand. Cards fly out. Change. The card disappeared and was replaced by a woman wearing a luxurious black robe. Seeing the woman in black robe in front of him, Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows and crossed his chest with his hands. She was a lowly in her cub stage, and she was a girl in her childhood stage, so, is she an adult woman now? The woman in front of Chen Hao is already a mature girl. Satya slowly opened its eyes, revealing a pair of black eyes. It saw Chen Hao, its eyes lit up slightly, and a smile appeared on its face. Master. Satya's voice is that of a mature woman, but it's somewhat neutral and cheerful. Chen Hao smiled and said, how do you feel today? When Satya heard this, it came back to its senses, raised its hand, and looked at its own hand. Its eyes were glowing, and there was a smile on its face. It looked at Chen Hao. You are indeed the master. If you are here, under normal circumstances, it would take at least 5,000 to 6,000 years for me to return to my current strength. In the end, with the help of the master, the time that has passed in just one day is comparable to the thousands of years I spent in the abyss of death. Thousands of years? Chen Hao thought that staying in a book for one night was equivalent to spending 20 or 30 years outside. It may be said that it is equivalent to 20 or 30 years of time. It may be that Satya is special and the book has a special effect on it. Chen Hao said with a smile, with your current strength, is it possible to hunt down half-imperial monsters and obtain the Emperor's Core? Satya smiled and said, with my current strength, of course it is possible. Even if you don't tell me, Master, I plan to kill a few heavenly soldiers to test my strength. Heavenly soldiers? Chen Hao was slightly startled. What is it? Satya was slightly startled and explained, in the half-emperor stage, it is difficult for ordinary monsters to evolve through their own abilities. The place I want to go is the divine realm. The divine realm is a place created by God. There are many lives created by God in the divine realm. They are used to protect the divine realm. Heavenly soldiers are the names of those lives. Satya said, originally, I also owned a divine realm before, but that war failed. My dark divine realm is gone, but I can go to other divine realms. Speaking of this, Satya chuckled, those bastards haven't recovered their vitality after that battle. They are probably not as strong as me now. Although the emperor-level generals in their divine domain are not easy to deal with. But with my current strength, running is no problem. Hearing this, Chen Hao suddenly became interested, then it's decided. I'll go over with you to take a look later. When Satya heard this, it was slightly startled, Master, it's not safe. Hearing this, Chen Hao looked at Satya's hesitation, and he knew what Satya meant. Now even if Satya encounters an existence in the imperial stage, it can run away, but being able to run does not mean that it can protect itself. Satya was worried that something might happen to Chen Hao. Chen Hao smiled and said, Your master and I, although I have no memory of the past, I still have the ability to protect myself. There should be nothing that can hurt me in this world. Since the book has instilled in Satya my omnipotent ability, it's okay for me to pretend appropriately. Satya's eyes lit up slightly, and she smiled, since the master said so, well, we will go there later. Chen Hao nodded slightly, before that, I will release the other monsters first and let them come out and move around. Satya hummed. Chen Hao opened the book and released the monsters one by one. After releasing all the holy beasts, Chen Hao's eyes fell on the cards with dark attribute monsters. Yesterday, I fed the monsters that had evolved to the Beast King stage with awakening stage magic crystals. According to time, they should also evolve today. I don't know what these little guys have evolved into. Chen Hao looked at the card slot used to place the skeleton warrior cards. Awakening period golden skeleton warrior. Seeing this, Chen Hao's eyebrows stretched. Not a dark skeleton warrior, but a golden skeleton warrior? It seems that after the skeleton warrior was tamed by him, his evolutionary path is somewhat different from that of the Death Abyss. The awakening skeleton warriors that Death Abyss encountered were the dark skeleton warriors. Taming degree, 100%. Description: the golden skeleton warrior is a dark attribute monster. It evolved from the skeleton warrior. It has a more gorgeous armor and has stronger defense and physical attack power than other awakening skeleton warriors, but its magic damage is weak. See this. In other words, did it choose a route with stronger defense and physical damage? Suddenly, Chen Hao couldn't help but think of what happened to him yesterday. Yesterday, I praised the skeleton warrior, saying that its body and armor looked more refined, and that it could withstand beatings. This. Chen Hao smiled helplessly. It seems that as the master, I should pay more attention to my words and deeds. A random word or a random thing will affect the evolution route choice of one's own beast master. This is probably the power of 100% tameness. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 148. Transform. Chen Hao's voice fell, and the card disappeared. The figure of the golden skeleton warrior appeared in front of Chen Hao. Compared to the previous skeleton warrior, the armor covered by the skeleton warrior in front of him was obviously more exquisite, and the color was also golden. It also wore a golden crown on its head, and a little red light could be seen in its empty black pupils. After it appeared, its eyes fell on Chen Hao, Master. Its voice was hoarse and respectful. Chen Hao smiled and said nothing, just took out a card from the book. Transform. A black half-saint period magic crystal appeared in Chen Hao's hand. Chen Hao handed the magic crystal to it. Take it. When it heard it, it stretched out its bone-made hand to take it, and then looked at Chen Hao. Chen Hao smiled and said, This is a half-saint period magic crystal, which can help you evolve to the half-saint period. You absorb it well and look forward to your next evolution. Hearing this, the red light in its eyes shone slightly. Thank you, Master. Chen Hao nodded slightly. Change. The golden skeleton warrior and the magic crystal turned into a card. Chen Hao picked up the card and put it away. His eyes fell on other dark attribute monsters. In addition to the golden skeleton warrior, other dark attribute monsters were also fed magic crystals by Chen Hao yesterday. Like the dark dragon, it has also evolved. It has entered the awakening stage and become the dark dragon. After being released, the appearance is similar, but the body is slightly larger. The black scale giant snake in the Beast King stage has also entered the awakening stage at this moment and has become a black scale giant python. The blood-soaked sword demon has also evolved into a bloodthirsty sword demon. The size and appearance of these two guys do not seem to have changed much. What Chen Hao cares about more is the bone dragon. The bone dragon has evolved into the bone dragon king in the Beast King stage. And now the bone dragon king has evolved again. Awakening stage ice bone dragon. Description: ice bone dragon, water and dark dual attributes, evolved from the mutation caused by the bone dragon king. The ice bone dragon in front of him had a black skeleton and a dark halo around his body. The moment it appeared, Chen Hao could feel the oncoming chill. It has evolved by mutation. Chen Hao crossed his arms and looked at the ice bone dragon in front of him, with a sense of novelty in his eyes. Chen Hao cultivated so many magical beasts and monsters, and only the big pig had experienced mutation and evolution. The reason why the big pig had mutation and evolution was that the big pig itself had dual attributes, and Chen Hao frantically piled wood attribute magic crystals for the big pig, which led to an imbalance in the dual attributes and mutation and evolution. The icebone dragon in front of him had a single attribute, but now it suddenly mutated into a dual attribute. This situation, wait a minute. Chen Hao's heart moved, and he subconsciously looked at the book in front of him, and he opened it. Entering Saint Period Storm Shock Wolf. Description: Storm Shock Wolf, dual attributes of scenery and light, evolved from the alienated Wind and Thunder Wolf. By the way, when the big wolf evolved from the awakening stage to the semi-saint stage, it also experienced mutation evolution. What's going on? Chen Hao looked at Shataya beside him. Shataya stood aside, looking at Chen Hao with big eyes. Seeing Chen Hao looking at it, it smiled. Well, although Shataya has lived for a long time, this guy is a bit similar to the Fire Phoenix in character. It loves destruction more than research. It is estimated that it will not know about this mutation. Thinking of this, King Lu, you can ask it. Chen Hao opened the book and took a look. If you say, among these magic beasts and monsters owned by Chen Hao, who knows life best, then it is obviously King Lu. King Lu can be said to be the opposite of Fire Phoenix and Shataya. Fire Phoenix and Shataya are both inclined to destruction, while King Lu is inclined to creation. Just as King Lu said, it knows everything about life. I remember that the blue deer evolved into a green fluorescent deer yesterday. Today's blue deer should have evolved as well. What will it evolve into? Chen Hao looked at the card slot that was used to hold the green fluorescent deer card. Awakening Period Fluorescent Deer Girl. This name, Chen Hao was slightly startled. Chen Hao looked at the picture on the card. What caught his eye was a fluorescent blue deer. From the picture, this blue deer looked very beautiful and dreamy, and it seemed that there was no change from the previous green fluorescent deer. Chen Hao looked at the description on the card. Description: Fluorescent Deer Girl, a wood attribute monster, evolved from the green shadow fluorescent deer, and possessed the unique magic Resurrection of All Things. The Resurrection of All Things can grow a fluorescent grass within a range of 100 meters, and all creatures on the grass can receive powerful treatment. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows. A healing monster? I remember that the ancient Tree of Life also has healing abilities. It seems that wood attributed monsters all have certain healing abilities. Is wood attribute considered a life attribute? Chen Hao muttered, I used to think that only light attribute had healing magic. Transform. The card disappeared. Chen Hao's eyes lit up slightly, accompanied by a faint scent of green grass. A green light appeared in front of Chen Hao, and a green deer with a green fluorescent light appeared in front of Chen Hao. The green deer was closing its eyes, and it slowly opened its eyes, revealing a pair of gem-like eyes, and it looked at Chen Hao. It did not greet Chen Hao directly, but closed its eyes again. Chen Hao was slightly startled. What is it doing? Under Chen Hao's gaze, the green deer glowed green all over. Seeing this familiar scene, Chen Hao's eyes flashed with a hint of novelty. This scene was very similar to the scene when the sacred beast was about to transform into a human form. Sure enough, it was just as Chen Hao thought. The green deer's body was wrapped in a dreamy green fluorescence, turning into a green light ball. The ball reconstructed a body. After the light ball dissipated, there was a girl about 14 or 15 years old in front of Chen Hao. The girl was wearing an exquisite green long skirt, she had pointed ears, and under her green bangs was a cute and delicate little face. It glowed with a faint halo all over, it was barefoot, and where it stepped, a small green grass emerged. It looked at Chen Hao with a smile on its face. Master. The girl's voice of a silver bell sounded, and the voice was full of youthful vigor. Seeing this, Chen Hao never expected that it had the ability to transform into a human form just like the sacred beast at this awakening stage. Now Chen Hao finally understood why it was a fluorescent deer girl, not a fluorescent female deer. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows. The ability to transform into a human form, I remember it is the ability of a sacred beast, right? Hearing this, the green deer smiled. Master, you forgot that the green deer is a beast transformed by the breath of life. I am most familiar with the birth and changes of life. As long as I want, I can choose any body shape when evolving. I see that the master has been visiting humans recently. Now the green deer has two postures, it can transform into a deer or a human. The deer can be the master's mount, and the human form can disguise as a human to accompany the master to the human world to play. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows. This little guy is really good. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 149. Chen Hao said, there is a question, I don't know if you know it. When King Lu heard this, there was a hint of questioning in his eyes. Seeing Chen Hao looking to his side, King Lu followed Chen Hao's line of sight and looked at the Icebone Dragon. The Icebone Dragon is sitting there obediently, looking over here. The green deer was startled, and then it was startled, the awakening bone dragon, the Icebone Dragon. King Lu's eyes were shining. It seemed to have realized something and looked at Chen Hao. Master, I remember that yesterday it was the Dark Attribute Beast King stage Bone Dragon King. Is it a mutation evolution? Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled slightly. That's what I want to ask. I have seen dual attribute monsters. Because the attributes were out of balance, the other attribute disappeared, resulting in a breakthrough evolution. A single attribute mutation like this, it's rare for me to have two attributes, so I want to ask you what's going on. King Lu showed the unique smile of a young girl, because this skull dragon has hidden attributes. Hidden attribute? Chen Hao was slightly startled and looked at King Lu. King Lu hummed, some monsters are shown to have a single attribute, but in fact they are favored by two kinds of magic elements, and they also have two kinds of magic elements in their bodies. However, under normal circumstances, they only show a single attribute. However, at certain special moments, similar to after evolution, another attribute will appear, and they will have a dual attribute evolutionary route. Speaking of this, King Lu smiled. Of course, this kind of situation is relatively rare. Chen Hao's heart moved. He immediately thought of the time when he was learning magic. Most magicians who learn magic can only be favored by one kind of magic element, but some with good talents will be favored by two kinds of magic elements. In other words, this situation also exists between monsters and monsters. This is the reason why the big wolf and the skull dragon mutated and evolved to acquire two attributes. Chen Hao looked at the icebone dragon and smiled. Interesting, in this case. Chen Hao took out two cards from the book. He looked at the icebone dragon and said, "Eat it." As he spoke, he waved his hand and two cards flew towards the icebone dragon. The icebone dragon's pupils condensed slightly. Change. The two cards turned into two semi-holy magic crystals, one blue and one dark. The blue one was the water holy beast magic crystal, and the dark one was the dark holy beast magic crystal. Previously, only one attribute magic crystal was given to the big pig, which resulted in the big pig being left with only the wood attribute. Now Chen Hao plans to give the icebone dragon a balance. The icebone dragon opened its mouth and swallowed hard. Change. After the icebone dragon swallowed it, Chen Hao's voice sounded, and the icebone dragon's body turned into a card, floating in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao looked at the icebone dragon card in his hand and smiled, looking forward to your next evolution. With that said, Chen Hao put away the cards. After that, Chen Hao released all other monsters and monsters. The Windfire Wolf has now reached its juvenile stage, and the three of them, Big Wolf, are particularly interested in the new Windfire Wolf. They play with the Wind and Fire Wolves in their humanoid form. Chen Hao was also happy to see this, so he let the Windfire Wolf play with them. The 10,000-year dragon still failed to evolve. Perhaps, the evolution from the awakening stage to the semi-holy stage is indeed a bit difficult. Chen Hao was not in a hurry. After Chen Hao finished doing this, he looked at Satya. "Let's go." Satya nodded slightly. "Master, where are you going?" "Take me with you." "I'm so bored lately," came the voice of Huo Feng. Hearing this voice, Chen Hao was slightly startled and looked at Huo Feng. "Master, I also want to follow you." Another voice came. It was King Lu. Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows and said with a smile, "I want to go to God's realm. That place is too threatening, so you two would be better off not going there." "Danger." Huo Feng crossed his arms over his chest and said with a confident smile, "Master, you underestimate me. With my current strength, there is no place in this world that I can't go to. I'm a holy beast now." Snort. King Lu said with a smile, "Master, if it is dangerous, you should take King Lu with you. King Lu has the ability to heal and can help the master heal." Hearing this, Chen Hao touched his chin. He looked at Huo Feng and said with a smile, "Huo Feng, King Lu, you want to go, right?" When the Fire Phoenix heard this, it nodded repeatedly, "Well, I want to go. Wherever the master goes, I want to go. It's been too boring recently, and I don't have any strong opponents." King Lu showed that youthful smile. King Lu just wants to follow and serve his master. Chen Hao smiled. "Okay, then, you two join forces to fight Satya. If you can beat Satya, then I will let you go. How about it?" When the Fire Phoenix heard this, it subconsciously looked at Satya. Satya crossed her arms, raised the corners of her mouth slightly, and looked at the Fire Phoenix playfully. Huo Feng showed a smile. Huo Feng, don't take anything seriously. As long as I can follow the master, I will fight whoever you ask me to fight." King Lu looked at Satya, and the smile on his face disappeared. It was obvious that he had realized how powerful Satya was. Chen Hao looked at King Lu and said with a smile, "King Lu, what about you?" When King Lu heard this, he hesitated. When the Fire Phoenix saw the green deer's hesitation, it snorted disdainfully and crossed its arms over its chest. I don't need you for the breath of life. To deal with it, I have one, which is enough. With that said, Huofeng looked at Satya. Let's go. Where are we going to fight? I don't want to destroy the master's wooden house. When Chataya heard this, the corners of her mouth rose, she crossed her arms and smiled slightly. Don't worry, it won't destroy the master's wooden house. As Chataya's voice fell, the pupils of the fire phoenix suddenly condensed, her eyes rolled up, and her body fell to the ground. She fell into a coma. Seeing this, Chen Hao frowned and looked at Chataya. Chataya noticed Chen Hao's sight, and she smiled and said, Master, don't worry, I just used magic pressure to shock it, and its mental power couldn't bear it, so it fainted. The recovery ability of the strange beast is very strong, nothing will happen. Hearing this, Chen Hao stretched his eyebrows, he looked at the unconscious fire phoenix, and then looked at the big pig. Chen Hao was about to say something, and the big pig nodded with a smile. Then the vine appeared, holding the body of the fire phoenix, entered the wooden house, and took it to rest. The big pig has been paying attention to the side, and Chen Hao gave a look, and the big pig knew what Chen Hao wanted to say. Chen Hao retracted his gaze and looked at King Lu, only to see that King Lu was staring straight at Chataya. Chen Hao reached out and stroked King Lu's little head. King Lu felt Chen Hao's tenderness and looked at Chen Hao. Master. Chen Hao smiled. Chataya is not a strange beast, it is a real god, different from strange beasts. Although it is only in the mature stage, its strength has surpassed the half-emperor stage, which is a different understanding from the holy beast. It is normal that you are not its opponent. Master is going to the god's domain now. I want to get some things there. Those things can make you stronger. Chen Hao smiled and said, however, those places are very dangerous. Even Chataya can't guarantee her own safety, so I can't take you to take risks. King Lu heard it, its eyes were shining, it looked at Chen Hao. King Lu is really useless, can't help the master. Chen Hao was slightly startled, and he smiled, don't cry, the master is helping you now. When you grow strong enough, you will protect the master. The green deer's eyes lit up slightly, and there was a smile on its face. Well. Chen Hao took back his hand and said with a smile, tell Huofeng what I said, so that the irritable little guy will not feel uncomfortable. Hearing this, the green deer smiled, Master, don't worry, Huofeng is a straightforward guy. It will not obey anyone except the master, and it will not keep things in its heart. It will be fine. Chen Hao nodded slightly, with your words, I feel relieved. As he said, Chen Hao looked at Chataya and nodded slightly. Chataya smiled slightly. Two groups of black mist appeared instantly, wrapping Chen Hao and Chataya. The two groups of black mist condensed together, instantly turned into black light and disappeared in the sky. The green deer looked at the direction where the black light disappeared, and its eyes were full of worry. Master, I will work hard to become stronger. I am immortal and I raise a divine beast in another world. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 150. Chen Hao only felt a black and a light in front of his eyes. The surrounding environment has changed. Everything he saw gave Chen Hao a sense of novelty. This is a corridor, and under his feet are glowing stone slabs with exquisite carvings. One stone slab after another paved a long corridor. The corridor is very spacious, more than 10 meters wide, and very long. Looking forward, you can vaguely see a huge white building, but because the distance is very far, it looks a little blurry. Chen Hao looked up at the sky. This sky, how can it be like this? The whole sky is not a normal blue, but a light gold. In the sky, there is a huge golden disk hanging, and the disk is emitting white light, illuminating the entire underground. But Chen Hao can clearly see the patterns on the disk, and those patterns are somewhat similar to the stone slabs under his feet. This sky is completely different from the sky that Chen Hao is familiar with. Humph, that idiot Balder likes to do these fancy things, the so-called belief in light, and his own totem, which is really disgusting. When Chen Hao was immersed in shock, Shataya's disdainful voice came from beside him. Hearing this voice, Chen Hao looked at Shataya beside him. He saw Shataya with his hands on his chest, frowning and looking at the sun disk above with disdain on his face. Chen Hao blinked. In other words, is this place the god's domain? Chen Hao raised his head and looked at the sun disk. Shataya, what's going on with the sky? Shataya was startled, and it came back to its senses. It's like this, Master, this is the god's domain of light, an independent space created by the god of light Balder, and this sky is also its masterpiece. The lines you see are the signs that the shameless thing made for himself. Humph, fancy. God's independent space? It's amazing. Chen Hao muttered. Suddenly, Chen Hao had an idea, and then he looked at Shataya. You said, this is the god's domain of light. So, in addition to this god's domain, there are other gods' domains. Chen Hao suddenly remembered that Shataya had said before that it had its own god's domain before, but it is gone now. In other words, in addition to the god of light and the goddess of darkness, other gods also have this kind of god's domain? Yes, Shataya said, of course, as long as it is a true god, then it has it. There are 7 true gods in this world, representing darkness, light, ocean, forest, soil, storm, and fire, 7 gods, so there are 7 gods' domains. Shataya crossed her arms and looked at the god's domain in front of her. Before, light, forest, earth and storm, those 4 guys besieged me together, otherwise, if they just came one by one, they would all be hung up and beaten by me. A bunch of shameless things, Shataya still said angrily. Chen Hao was startled, he was a little confused. Why do they want to join forces to fight you? When Shataya heard this, it puffed up its cheeks and said, I just wanted to compete to see who created the more powerful race, and then let the demons invade other races, and by the way, destroy a few boring small races. As a result, they got angry and wanted to beat me. Humph, they are so petty. Hearing Shataya say this lightly, Chen Hao's mouth twitched. Shataya said it lightly, but Chen Hao was not stupid. He understood what was going on as soon as he thought about it. Shataya drove the demons to invade other races, slaughter and destroy, and even directly wiped out some races. That kind of behavior is simply the behavior of a demon, and it does not regard life as life at all. It is no wonder that Shataya would provoke public anger, but Shataya is completely unaware of it, and even thinks that other gods are too much. In Shataya's eyes, it is estimated that the demons and the human race are just toys. It doesn't care if it crushes a few toys. It is a god who is powerful enough to create a race, but its personality is like a child. It treats the races it created and the races created by others as toys. From the perspective of other races in this world, this guy is a demon. An unprecedented devil. Forget it. Chen Hao retracted his gaze. Anyway, he is its master now, so he just needs to take good care of it. Where are the heavenly soldiers you mentioned? It's still business that matters. Chen Hao has not forgotten the purpose of his coming here. It's in front, master, look over there, as he said. Shataya stretched out his hand and pointed in a direction. Chen Hao looked in the direction Shataya pointed. Over there, a humanoid life form covered with silver armor, with a pair of white wings behind him and holding a white tasseled spear, was walking aimlessly in the corridor. This humanoid life form exudes fluorescence all over and looks very sacred. But looking at its posture, it feels like a robot without thinking and life. But very handsome. This armor, the pattern on it, is so cool. Is this the heavenly soldier? Book, Chen Hao said. As the voice came, a book appeared in front of Chen Hao. Chen Hao opened the book and took out the life identifier card from the book. Transform. The card turned into a life identifier. Chen Hao turned on the life identifier and aimed the screen at the heavenly soldier. Identification in progress. Identification completed. Half-Emperor Light Heavenly Soldier. Light Soldier, a light attribute monster, a single attribute monster created by the power of the God of Light, possesses powerful destructive power and defensive power. Special move, Holy Spear of Light. Tisk tisk tisk, Chen Hao smacked his lips. I don't know why, but I feel that this guy is a bit difficult to deal with. Master, you stay here first, I will take off the Emperor core of that celestial soldier and give it to you as a gift, Shataya said, and it continued to move forward. Suddenly, Shataya seemed to remember something, and it looked at Chen Hao. By the way, Master, you and I are now in stealth mode. As long as you are not too close to the half-emperor period celestial soldiers, they will not be able to find you. However, this kind of stealth is ineffective for the emperor period. Shataya smiled. However, we are far away from the Temple of Light, and the outer celestial soldiers are not very strong, so the master does not need to worry too much. Hearing this, Chen Hao smiled. Go. This guy is still very concerned about my safety. Shataya hummed. Under Chen Hao's gaze, a pair of black wings appeared behind Shataya, and the wings spread out. Shataya quickly flew towards the direction of the light heavenly soldier. Shataya was in stealth mode, but when this invisibility magic was close to the half-emperor heavenly soldier or moved too fast, the magic would be ineffective. The heavenly soldier was originally walking aimlessly, but when Shataya approached quickly, it suddenly came back to its senses. It suddenly grasped the white tassel spear with one hand, and raised the other hand first. The moment it was raised, a white transparent light shield covered it.